Hello guys, so welcome to part 3 of this little mini-series. The other 2 episodes are how I gain inspiration and my practice regime. So I'll put them in, you can find the others in the lessons playlist thing. Once again, this isn't my normal video setup, so if there is any playing in this video, I apologise that the sound isn't going to be as good as it normally would be, as I'm just recording it on my phone. But I wanted to make these videos anyway, in the hopes that they might help inspire you and also shed some light on the way my own brain works, just in the hopes that it might make someone feel less alone. And because this is a topic that, again, I've been asked about a fair bit, so it's no secret that I like video games. I started playing them literally with my dad at 2 years old, and my first console was PlayStation 2, which was actually my sister's, and I was so obsessed with it that eventually I ended up getting my own as well. I absolutely fell in love with it. Like, I'm 22 now, so I've literally been gaming for 20 years of my life, especially with my dad, and I have so many fond memories of them. They're still a massive part of my life, and it's a good way for me. I've found that it actually helps me when I learn things as well. So this video is, of course, how video games influenced me as a musician. So they've influenced me in many ways, and not just in the music that I write, but also in the way that I learn and the way that I take inspiration from things. So this ties in with my practice regime video, but the way it helps me to learn is, as I was saying in the other video, when I've learned something, I kind of have to go away from it from a little while and let it sink in. And while I'm doing that, I generally go and play a video game. And that, in a way, actually feeds me subconsciously more inspiration. So it's like, as I'm playing the video game, my brain is still working through what I've just learned, and it's helping it process it, because this part of my brain can focus on something else, and so it's actually able to take it in a lot better. And once I go back to it, I find I can just do it pretty much immediately, if not immediately, when I go back to it. But it also feeds me more inspiration in a way that my brain doesn't necessarily know consciously that it's being fed inspiration, which for me, if you saw the other 2 videos, is quite a good thing, because if I'm not in a phase where my brain is wanting to take in inspiration constantly all the time and new information, it actually gets quite overwhelming and it almost stalls it, because my brain only takes one little thing to create a load of different pathways and ideas. So when I play video games, it's a good way to actually make me inspired and help me help my brain wander without it being a massive conscious taxing thing. So it's a really important thing to me, that whole kind of concept. But the other way that it inspires me is, of course, in the music that I write and the way I play. So my first game, or 2 first games, but I'm pretty sure the first one that I played was the original Ratchet and Clank with my dad when I was 2 years old, and I remember it taking us 6 months to finish that first game. It took us such a long time. It's still really a difficult game, but that is still one of the first original 3 are still 3 of my all-time favourite games ever, and I have so many fond memories of them that they're just so dear to me, and they come out in my music so often. So not only do the memories of doing that come out in my music, but the actual what is in the video games also comes out. So there's many angles to this and many different ways that it's influenced me. But the composer for the first 3 Ratchet and Clank games is a man called David Burgo, who I'm now extremely lucky to call a dear friend. He's one of the loveliest guys I've ever had the honour of speaking to, and I'm so grateful to know him. I reached out to him because he's had such a massive impact on my life, because right from 2 years old, I mean, I've mentioned in other videos, I've always been tuned into music. Like, as a baby, I would tap my foot before I could even hold my head up. So it's clearly been something that has always gone into my brain anyway. So I know, even back then at 2 years old playing those games, that music was adding to the whole experience, and I was taking it in, and it was is a large part of the reason why I absolutely adore those games. And that music comes out in mine so often. I mean, it's one of the prime examples, because I mean, aside from the fact that I've done like a Ratchet and Clank bass medley, which I will show a little clip of here and put a link to in the description. It's also inspired me in many other musical ways as well, such as songs like that Voxescort bass solo, which I'll put a little clip in of here. And also as far as genres in general go, because that whole soundtrack is so massively creative and takes so much inspiration from places that you wouldn't even imagine would fit together, because there's electronic, there's kind of world music, drum and bass, there's some jazz elements, there's funk elements. If you go to the soundtracks of the first 3 games, there's everything in it. There's classical, there's so much of it, and I just know that over the years, and at 2 years old, my brain was soaking all of that in. And a lot of the rhythms in the Ratchet and Clank stuff, there's prog elements in it, and a lot of the rhythms in it are quite proggy, and they're not always in a 4/4 time signature. And I've always kind of been able to take in different weird rhythms without necessarily having to count it. I can kind of feel it and memorise it fairly quickly and fairly easily. And it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I really do think that this is something that only dawned on me recently when I was playing through the games again. But I realised that a lot of the weird rhythms that I am able to take in other music and that come out in my music, and that I'm constantly tapping along to like nothing all the time. I can't keep still. They're rhythms that are in Ratchet and Clank, and it kind of, I was like, that makes sense now. I was obviously soaking all of that in without even realising it, and learning how to follow along with all that stuff at 2 years old onwards, without even knowing it, and before I was even a musician. So it's been massively important to me, and I really do credit a lot of those game soundtracks and a lot of other ones, but in particular those, to the way that I take in music and the way I express music now. Hopefully this is making some kind of sense. I really think it's a topic that deserves to be spoken about, because I see quite a lot of comments a lot of the time that are like, oh, kids these days, they're not interested in music, they just want to sit and waste time on games. And I really disagree with that. I disagree with anything that thinks that concentrating on something that isn't music is wasting time. Because for a start, all of this stuff that it is non-music related is music related, because you look at any game, any film, basically all of them have soundtracks, and if these things didn't exist, then a hell of a lot of musicians would be out of jobs. They would have no... That's what they love to do, like make soundtracks for things, and they would have no jobs. But also people like me and a lot of other people wouldn't have had that inspiration subconsciously of seeing a film or a game and playing it and hearing and having that extra layer to the experience and hearing the soundtrack and thinking, wow, this is making it absolutely amazing, and it comes out years and years and years down the line. And I think if none of those things existed and no one wasted their time on these things, then there wouldn't be as many musicians around for multiple reasons. Because the other thing is, when you play video games, it's helping you in physical ways as well, such as hand-eye coordination. It helps you to learn patterns, critical thinking, reaction times, and taking things in as quickly as you can. And memory, which obviously is failing me right now, and hand-eye coordination and depth perception, which are all things that are really important in music. And again, I think that helped me massively, just the physical aspect of doing this and taking it all in. It all translates, and I really hope people start to realise and notice other things in life that are unrelated are actually all related to music, as I've mentioned in the other videos. Music is in everything, and it all ties in together if you allow it to and don't shut it out. It's really important to me to kind of get that out there, and hopefully more and more people will start to realise things and people won't end up out of a job. But yeah, not only has it helped me from like a compositional standpoint, but it's also helped me from that physical standpoint and the memory standpoint, but also from a therapeutic standpoint. As I was mentioning earlier, if I didn't have that kind of output to be able to sit and play a game and because this is the number one way that I kind of seem to come up with ideas, is when I'm sitting and playing a game. Some people do it on the toilet or other related things, but mine is when I'm sitting playing video games generally. I mean, obviously I get ideas from different places all the time, but a big one is video games. And again, it's not wasting time. Like, if something is aiding you, it's never time wasted, even if it's just for the sake of letting yourself have a bit of a wind down. Because if you get wound up at things or you get massively stressed about them and you never take any time to wind down from it, it's never going to get any better. Or as a general rule, it won't anyway. Maybe you do work that way, but my brain certainly doesn't. And video games can be a great way to do that if it's the right game. Maybe not Call of Duty for me. Although I find that a really good way to kind of zone out, because I just don't care when I'm getting shouted at by 12-year-olds. I literally just don't care. I just find it really fun. And my brain, at the same time as I'm concentrating on this, is subconsciously in the back part of my brain working through songs. It's going, this song's played like this. I'm going through this song. This is doing this, blah, blah, blah. It never stops, and I'm never not translating the outside world into music, because again, to me, it's my first language. Everything gets translated into that and then comes out as that. And video games have been a massive, massive inspiration to me, and they've really shaped me as a musician, in my opinion. Especially the Ratchet and Clank games. Other classic games are the original Harry Potter ones, like up until The Prisoner of Azkaban. The PS1 and PS2 games And the soundtracks on them are amazing as well, and they've played a massive, massive role in my inspiration and my love of music, and also noticing how it can really set a scene and create a mood. And my copy of the Ratchet and Clank game, the original one, is now so broken that the rest of the game works, but the music is now gone, which kind of freaks me out. I don't know how that's possible for a disc, but it is. And now that I play it, well, it was years ago, it broke in that way, and I was playing it, I was like, this really doesn't feel the same, it feels wrong, and I'm not enjoying it nearly as much. And it really made me realise just how much of an impact music has on an environment, whether it's a real life environment or a digital environment. It has a massive impact, and it made me appreciate it even more. Again, that actually broke before I was a musician, like pre-bass playing years. So I had realised that at that point, and I think that was an important realisation to come to, because it just made me appreciate it even more and understand it even more on a kind of level that I could explain to people, or explain and understand to myself in a more tangible way, rather than just like in an intangible way that I didn't really know how to form into a human sentence, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I mean, these things really, to me, they're not a waste of time. Again, Harry Potter itself, the films have been a massive influence on me. They're one of my dearest memories as well. And again, I've loved them for about the same amount of time. And they've come out in my playing as well, not only the soundtrack, but just kind of the inspiration from the whole world. Because, as I was saying, my brain takes things in, and then it translates them into music, and it just comes out that way. So they're really not a waste of time, and I think it's a kind of dangerous path to go down to berate people for enjoying this stuff. Not only from it's dangerous because they need to be allowed to enjoy it place, but it's also dangerous because just think about how many musicians would be out of a job they love, because all of these things, they're all music. It all comes back to music. There's music in the soundtracks of all these things, and there's sound design in all of these things. But also it's dangerous because the amount of points I've made in different ways and different angles that they've inspired me goes for a hell of a lot of other people as well. And I wouldn't have had all of that. I mean, I think I've always been musically inclined anyway, so I still would have become a musician, but I wouldn't necessarily have had these kind of realizations as early on as I did. So I wouldn't necessarily be where I am now. And some people might not necessarily be as musically inclined without that, but then they've become that way through all of this stuff. So there's no doubt that they've inspired me. And again, just go and listen to the Ratchet and Clank soundtracks of the first three in particular, and the first three Harry Potter games, and just all of these games. I'm trying to think. I've gone blank on every game I've ever played now, apart from those two. But there's been so many, and they're just inspiring in every way. And you can hear it in my music and the rhythms and all sorts. And they also introduce me to a lot of other genres. Like, I absolutely love world music, and there's a lot of that in the Ratchet and Clank things, and it comes out in my music as well. And yeah, that's just how it's shaped me as a musician. There's no doubting that it has. So I really wanted to answer this question because it's a great question in my opinion, and I've not really seen necessarily anyone talk about it in this way before, so hopefully it was either something you could relate to, or maybe it made you think differently on the subject. But hopefully it made sense, and yeah, hopefully it was somewhat enjoyable to listen to my little ramble. Another way that it's helped me though is that it's inspired me to learn things by ear that I wouldn't necessarily have ever learned, and that have been way above my skill range per se, that I've pushed myself to learn and get through and listen for, and I've been better for it. Prime example being a song from Ratchet and Clank. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact name of it right now, but I'll put a clip of it, what I learned, and I learned it all by ear. So not only did it help my ear, but it also helped me my dexterity as well, because it's one of the fastest things at that point that I had learned. So I'll put that clip in now. So not only did it help me in that way, and that clearly was very helpful, it's also helped me in other ways of, like, I've done other bass medleys, like I did the Super Mario bass medley, which I'll put in here. And again, that helped me because I was figuring out not only one layer of the music, but all the different layers as well, of like different melodies going on above and below it, and just kind of figuring out the best way to play it, the best place on the fretboard, and not only learning how to hear it and learning how to play it, but also learning tonality wise where was the best place to play it, considering it's a bass and I was going to have to layer it all up. It can be a bit of a tricky animal to wrangle when you're trying to layer up many basses and actually get it to not sound like a big muddy mess. So even that was an invaluable experience, because my brain really went, oh, I really want to learn that, and just do it as just a bass medley. And from that, I learned things I didn't even expect to learn, and I crossed hurdles I didn't expect to cross and wouldn't have necessarily crossed. So I really think it's shaped me in that way as well. And there's just so many ways that they've helped me, and surely other people as well. I just wanted to share it, but yeah, it also helped me as well in the sense that learning to translate not only what I saw in a game into music, like, oh, this environment sounds like this, how can I play that environment? But also with, oh, that song sounds like this. If I wanted to specifically do something that's inspired by that, for the sake of it being inspired by that, how would I get it across? And it's helped me in that way as well. So again, this stuff is just really invaluable, and I really think that people should kind of be more aware of, even if it doesn't help them, the impact that it can have on other people, and kind of learn to hopefully accept the different ways that everyone works, because everyone's different and everyone's brains work differently. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm actually planning to do a little tribute to David Burgo, because he's just a fantastic musician and fantastic person, and those soundtracks mean a lot to me as well, and his friendship means a lot to me, so look for that in the future, hopefully. I'm thinking at the end of this video I'm going to put the whole Ratchet and Clank medley in there, because one is a little tribute to him and those games, but also I would just like to share it with you guys, because again, there's some stuff in there that you might hear in the rest of my playing, especially the tapping stuff. I've noticed that the way I translated that into bass now comes out in my playing in a lot of other videos and a lot of improvisation. So I just think it could actually be quite a good thing to share at the end of this video. So it'll be also at the end if you fancy checking it out. And enjoy my amazing hat in the video as well. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Gaming playthroughs, like one little video of playing a game I'd actually love to do just as a little tribute. I might do that at some point as like an extra video. Not really a regular thing, but yeah. Aside from that, I do have a Patreon, so if you feel like supporting the channel on there, then that will be massively appreciated. There's no minimum pay, it's as little or as much as you like. There's no tiers, and yeah, basically it just goes towards helping me be able to continue doing music and what I love, and continue the channel and to bring better content to you all. But either way, there's no pressure. I love all of you guys anyway. So I hope you enjoyed, and a massive thank you to the person who asked me this question. I'm so sorry I've blanked on your name because I'm terrible with names, but I'll put it in a little caption here. But thank you for the great question, because it's been a pleasure to answer it. And again, I've been thinking of doing a Q&A at some point, so if any of you, let me know if you think that would be something you'd like to see, and also if you have any questions you'd like to ask for it, let me know in the comments. Link for the Patreon is also in the description as well. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this little mini-series has been somewhat entertaining and interesting. And if there's any other videos like this that you would like to see, then I would be more than happy to do my best to put them out there for you. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.
Thank you.